to order the October 4th, 2022 Carroll County Board of Commissioners. I call on County Clerk Linda Bingham to call the roll.
Chairman Morgan, absent. Vice Chairman McClendon,
Present.
Commissioner Chance,
Here.
Commissioner Lee,
Here.
Commissioner Fuller,
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Here.
Commissioner Chambers.
District 2 Commissioner Clint Chance will offer our invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Let us bow our heads. Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity for us to meet here together to handle the business of Carroll County. We thank you for these elected officials who are going to help govern what we believe is best for the community. And we thank you for the citizens that are here with us in attendance and those that are watching home. And we pray that you will give us the blessings and guidance that we need to make decisions that would be right and just and pleasing in your eyes. Please give us traveling mercies as we leave from this meeting. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Motion. All in favor? All opposed?
Motion passes 6-0.
All right, so I need a motion to approve the work session minutes from September 1st, 2022, Board of Commissioners minutes, September 6th, 2022, the executive session minutes, September 6th, 2022, and public hearing September 19th, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Motion passes 6-0.
All right, we will move into our public comment section. Public comments are an opportunity for the public to address the commission with any issues or concerns they may have. All remarks should be directed to the chairman and not to the individual commissioners. She's not here, so it's great right there. Staff or citizens in attendance, members of the public shall not make inappropriate or offensive comments. Any individual who violates the rules or decorum may be removed from the meeting. At this time, the board will not comment, nor will the board take any action on the comments. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. So do I have any public comments tonight? No public comments? All right, we'll move on. So next we have a special presentation is the Red Ribbon Week Proclamation. Red Ribbon Week, October 4th, 2022, whereas communities across America have been plagued by numerous problems associated with illicit drug use and those that traffic in them, and whereas there is hope in winning the war on drugs, and that hope lies in education and drug demand reduction, coupled with the hard work and determination of organizations such as Young Marines or the Marine Corps League to foster a healthy, drug-free lifestyle, and whereas governments and community leaders know that citizen support is one of the most effective tools in the effort to reduce the use of illicit drugs in our community, and whereas the red ribbon has been chosen as a symbol commemorating the work of Henry T. Camarena, a Drug Enforcement Administration agent who was murdered in the line of duty and represents the belief that one person can make a difference, and whereas the Red Ribbon Campaign was established by Congress in 1998 to encourage a drug-free lifestyle and involvement in drug prevention and reduction efforts, and whereas October 23rd through 31st has been designated National Red Ribbon Week, which encourages Americans to wear a red ribbon to show their support for a drug-free environment. Now, therefore, Michelle Morgan, Chairman of the Carroll County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim October 23rd to 31st as Red Ribbon Week in Carroll County, Georgia, and urge all citizens to join her in this special observance. In witness thereof, she has hereunto set her hand and caused this seal of Carroll County, Georgia, to be affixed to the proclamation on this day this fourth day of October 2022. Thank you, sir. All right. We're moving into the zoning session. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, sir. Motion to approve the proclamation. Thank you. In a second. All right, all in favor?
Motion passes 6-0.
All right. Thank you for that. We'll move into our zoning session. Before moving to the zoning session, I would like to read the policies and procedures governing the conduct of the zoning hearing. The applicant or anyone speaking in favor of the application request shall be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present their request. Anyone opposed to this request shall also have a total of 10 minutes to present their opposition. If there are multiple speakers for or against an application, ask them to please be mindful to allow for others to speak should they wish to do so. Anyone speaking for or against the application shall be allowed a total of 5 minutes to speak in rebuttal. I now call on County Planner Janet Hyde for our zone.
Good evening, Commissioners. The first item that I have for you all tonight is a rezoning request for Ithaca Glen Road, item Z-22-08-01. This is a request to rezone approximately 5 acres on Ithaca Glen Road from ag to residential for the purpose of building 2 single-family homes. The parcel is 170-3316, landlocked 6 district. The owner applicant is TNS Holdings LLC. Applicant name is Steve Pulver. This is Commission District 2, and the Planning Commission heard this and recommended approval of this. Staff also recommended approval. We did get one letter of opposition regarding this, and in that letter, it stated that Mr. Pulver had been in talks with a developer of adjacent land to allow access through his property to a proposed subdivision that's actually in the city of Villa Rica. Mr. Pulver came before you all a couple of years ago for rezoning of adjacent property that's adjacent to this property that we're talking about tonight. That rezoning was approved, and he says that that is actually the property that he is wanting to allow access to the developer for the subdivision. Again, Planning Commission did recommend approval, and staff recommend approval as well. And Mr. Pulver is present.
All right.
Good evening. My name is Steve Pulver. I live at 2578 Shipping Court.
I'm sorry, again. Yes, no.
Okay. I live at 2578 Shipping Court, Villa Rica, Georgia. This is a 5-acre tract that adjoins directly west of a former 4-acre tract that 2 years ago we divided into 3 building lots, each 1 1/3 acre. We have since built a home on the very first lot. We are starting to build, my wife and I, we're building our own home on lot number 1. The 5 acres is I want to divide it into 1 more 1 1/3 acre lots. The second is 3 2/3 acre, the remainder, and that cannot be divided because it's not deep enough to build a house. The very west end of this property only goes back 115 feet. So that 3 2/3 acres will remain as 1 lot. Any questions?
We'll get to that. We'll get to questions in just a second. All right. Is there anyone else to speak in favor? No. Still have some time left on the clock here. I'll ask again, is there anyone else here to speak in favor? All right, we'll close that out. Is there anyone here present to speak in opposition of this rezoning request? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition of this request? All right. No one here to speak in opposition? Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? You have anything else to add you'd like to add? Do you have anything else you would like to add? Okay. All right, we'll close that out then. Now we can ask some questions. All right, commissioners, any questions?
Ms. Hyde, this, converting from ag to residential R2, it is in the future land use map.
This property is future land use residential, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Pulver, I have some questions for you, please, sir. Thank you for being here this evening for the request. So you're looking to build a couple single-family residentials like you did on the adjacent property that Ms. Hyde talked about?
That's correct.
Okay, and I assume it will be something similar to the home that you had already built there. That was a nice home.
That's correct. I have restrictive covenants on these lots. And there will be all rather large homes. They're all going to be of similar style and configuration.
Okay. And it's my understanding from the conversation, from the presentation of Ms. Hyde, that you're not looking on this current rezoning to try to have any type of land easements or transactions for through traffic, but that you had some conversations about the adjacent piece of property, or you were looking to see if you could have those conversations. Is that correct?
That's all incorrect.
Okay.
I have not had any conversation with Joe Morris or Mr. Shackelford about any access across that property. At the original auction, which is now 3 years ago, Mr. Morris was there at that time. He could have bought this 9 acres if he wanted it at that time, but he didn't. But he was there. Right now, I've heard all kinds of rumors. I have no intention of providing any access so that 200 cars can pull out of that development behind me and come out onto Ithaca Road. There's several issues that property will probably not develop. First of all, there's no sewer, and Billerica hasn't got any sewer available. The traffic is a problem. The density is a problem. I don't see it happening, but it's not going to happen through my property.
Okay. And I appreciate your comments and your clarification on that. I did want to clarify from the county's end as well that if you had had those conversations, that is not something that would have been permissible anyways without coming back to the county just off of a regular R2 residential, because that's not designed for, pass-through traffic as you had mentioned. And so I wanted to clarify that you understood that as well.
I do, and Commissioner, I don't understand why in 2004, not this commission, but a prior commission, allowed this hop, skip, and jump to take place. Billerica's city limits doesn't touch that property, but yet it's in their city. It's under their control. That should have never been allowed to begin with.
Well, that's another topic for another day, but I will say the way zoning work, especially in past law, cities have a lot of power in being able to annex in property that counties do not have as much recourse. So I don't know all the particular situations, but I'm just saying that's why you see some of that happening, where there's utilities that connect, or you see other pieces of property that connect, that they're allowed to do such. The counties don't have as much flexibility to try to stop that. So that's just a generic statement. That's not me knowing all the details about that specific piece of property. Those are the questions that I had for you, and I appreciate you answering those.
Anything else? Thank you.
All right. I hear a motion, to approve or deny, the rezoning request for Ipswich Road?
Mr. Vice Chairman, I make a motion to approve the rezoning request from Ag to R2 residential as presented with the following stipulations. One, this approval is for a one-time split only, and two, no land easements, leases, sales, or any further type of transactions are permitted with respect to granting a pass-through for vehicle traffic that abuts to any adjoining properties for the purpose of connecting to Ithaca Road.
Do I have a second? Any discussion?
I would like to add one further comment. I did have several residents that reached out to me through phone, email, and their initial concerns were about the pass-through of traffic, which we had discussed this evening. They did not necessarily have an issue with it changing from Ag to R2, as long as there was going to be a little bit of acreage there and a nice home, which the gentleman has already built adjacent to that. So I did want to say that I felt like the constituents' concerns have been addressed through this motion.
Right. All in favor?
Motion passes 6-0.
The next item I have for you all is a conditional use, C-22-09-01. This is at 2740 Shady Grove Road. This is a conditional use for a second dwelling. This is parcel 106-0026, land lot 207, the fifth district. The owner applicant is Kenneth Harrison, and this is Commission District 5. Mr. Harrison would like to construct a second home on the property, and according to our ordinance, that requires a conditional use permit granted by you all. The applicant's daughter is here, Leslie Paul, and she will be speaking for the application.
Good evening. So, what we would like to do is build a smaller home in front of the existing home that's there already at 2740. Probably be about 1,300 square feet, just for a caretaker situation. So there's the existing home in the back, and then we'll build it in front of that home.
Do I have anyone else to speak in favor of this? All right, thank you. Do I have anyone to speak in opposition? Okay, we'll move on to any questions for staff.
I do have a couple of questions. So typically, yes, for the applicant, if you want to come back up, thank you. I did try to do my homework, and I went out there and looked at the property a little a few days ago. And I guess my only concern, like you mentioned, I don't want to get in the way of what families want to do with their own property. That's not my intent. My intent really is to look beyond what we're approving now and look 15 years down the road and say, well, what would we be left with if the family doesn't want the property anymore? There's, as you know, a very steep hill coming into the property and a very steep hill back up to the existing residence.
Right.
And I thought that you may want to build the second home behind the first residence where the property levels out some. I guess hearing you say and on the drawing depicts that the home would be in front, I'm a little dubious about whether there's adequate property there in the front, but the property in front, if we split that off in the future, would likely be less than the 4 acres that is required in ag. And I guess that is a question for Janet. But since you're planning on building in front, then it seems like it's real close to the power line. It would be real close to the existing house. And can you give any measurements or description of that? Because it seems like a very,
This is where my husband comes in.
Okay.
He has all those answers.
okay.
I'll let him take that.
I have to apologize. Wasn't planning on being here, but for my father-in-law, he expects me to do better than us. No, there's more. There's the existing house is about 400 feet off the road, but to your point, there is. But what you see in the front, the back has even steeper. So that's why, if we wanted to go to the back, we'd have to be all the way to the back of the property. And as you know, at the plat, if you look at it, it's about 1,600 feet. So we'd have to add another probably 1,200 feet of driveway, power, all that to get, because there is a flat spot on the very back. So that made it difficult to use the back. Originally, we're actually thought about doing a pool house situation, but then that would put the second one too close to the house. And then we ran into the same kind of the same issues that you're talking about. And so in this, what I was thinking, because I thought about that if we had to split it, but if I had to split this property in the future, if someone had to split the property, it'd probably be, technically you would give that front piece a little bit of road frontage, maybe where the driveway is, and then you would technically leave road frontage to split the back away, but they probably share the same driveway, if that makes sense. You know, a lot of places do that, where then you put an easement or whatever you want to do, so that you can avoid, because you don't want too many more driveways coming off that curve of Shady Grove Road anyhow. Yeah, that becomes dangerous. In fact, probably one of the first things we'll do is try to see if we can get some of that curve cut back as far as the shrubbery, because during the summer you can't hardly see around that curve, and people fly down that road. Yeah. So I wouldn't want to put more driveways there.
Yeah. And how far do you plan on building the second home from the first home?
It will probably be about, I haven't measured it, but for sure, but it'll probably be about 150 feet to it.
Oh, okay.
Because we're gonna put you've been there or rode by, so you know where the power lines are.
Yeah.
The power line, that's what they mow is actually more than the setback has to be, because it just has to be 15 feet from the center, from the power pole. So we're gonna put the house because that's where their deer come walking. So that's what they want to be able to still sit there on their front porch and see the deer. Yeah. So that's why we're putting it. So it'll be in that little grove of trees that's right past the power line. We'll put it there. So the front porch will be, probably 40, 50 feet off the power line. So we're gonna miss that, because that was the first call I made, was actually the Carroll EMC to make sure that didn't become an issue.
Yeah, good. Okay. That's all I got.
Okay.
For staff, I have a quick question.
Okay. Let's move on down through a little bit, and then we'll get back to the questions, okay? Do I have anybody to speak in opposition? Anybody speak in opposition? Okay. Questions for staff?
Do you know, Janet, approximately how many acres then would be in that front part before you get to the existing house?
I didn't measure that, but looking at the whole parcel and what they've drawn out, I would think it's probably about an acre. Maybe two.
Yeah, it's at least 275, 300 feet of road frontage, and then you've got probably, 200-300 foot of depth maybe there, so.
So about an acre and a half, maybe.
Okay.
required to.
We're not gonna run into something down the road, we'll have to split, have to put on an acre. Do that.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
But on the curve zoning, somewhere down the road, this is going to split, have to put on an acre. So what happens?
They would have to come before the Board of Appeals and ask for a variance that time.
If they split off less.
If they split off less than 4 acres.
Can I say something to that effect? The existing house, being that it's close to 400 feet, 300, and it's a 300-foot wide, so 300 by 300, if we put the property line close to the front, that's 2 acres. So we should be good there. And plus, being it's only a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house that we're building, the septic line is only gonna be, what, 100, 150 feet of field line. It's not like we're doing a 3-2 and need 250 feet of field line.
Okay.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve?
I make the motion to approve as presented with the stipulations that the existing home is built at least 50 feet from the current residence, and that there be a shared driveway, not a new driveway placed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Motion passes with stipulations.
The next item I have for you all is Z-22-09-01. This is a rezoning request at 565 Columbia Drive to rezone approximately 2.9 acres from commercial to industrial for the purpose of opening a manufacturing facility. This is parcel 089-0809, land lot 163 of the 10th District. The owner applicant is Columbia Drive Management LLC, Commission District 1. And this is the site of the what has been the shredding company on Columbia Drive. They are selling that building, and a manufacturing company would like to go in there. This property is surrounded by other industrial property and other property in the city of Carrollton. And Planning Commission did recommend approval, and staff also recommended approval. And Mike Mashburn is here to speak for the applicant.
Good evening. I'm Mike Mashburn, 120 Hillcrest Road. We are here today about 565 Columbia Drive, asking for the zoning to be upgraded to industrial. I represent Columbia Drive Management LLC. The current tenant is moving to a new location. They've been there since 1995. The American Document Security Company. The building's going to be vacant in December. We have a buyer. It's EPAC Container Company. It's a new business. They're going to supply 20+ good paying jobs, but to do so, they need industrial zoning. The property, looking at that, is surrounded right now by all industrial properties. We've got some packs here if you want to hand them out. Kind of shows what EPAC does and some photos of their other facility. So basically, take a look at that, and if you have any questions, let us know.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here to speak on behalf of the potential purchaser and user of this property, and hopefully, if you had any questions I might could answer, I'll do my best to do that. They're located in Wooster, Ohio, and they're looking at what they actually do. They build the roll-off containers. So it'll be a welding facility. They'll need a paint booth. There's a portion of this property behind American Document Security building that is not clear. They want to clear that, gravel that lot, fence that lot for inventory storage. But this would allow them to serve the southeast, you know, by having a facility here in the southeast. They can't transport things from where they are and compete with the freight costs in the industry they're in. So I'd be happy to answer questions if you had any.
Yeah. Is there anyone else that would like to comment in favor? All right. Seeing none, do we have anyone that would like to speak out in opposition? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Do we have any questions for staff or applicant?
I just have a comment. I'm familiar with the area, and it is surrounded currently by manufacturing. So for me personally, even though it's not my district, I think we would welcome another business that's going to fit in already with what's around it, and certainly good paying jobs.
I would second that. I think this type of industry is what we're looking for, and it's a good thing.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve? Second. All right. All in favor?
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, that we're in our planning and zoning. All right. So now, before we open the public hearing for comments, I'm going to ask Community Development Director Ben Skipper to review the proposed changes.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, commissioners. The first one is regarding an ordinance change to the commercial district for allowing, I guess the easiest thing would be, sorry, just put that, hit the microphone. The easiest things would be to do is just to read it. Subsection 1, subsection F of section 881 of the zoning regulations shall be amended to the following. F, automobile, truck, and manufactured home sale, service, and repair. That's currently an allowed use in the industrial zoning district. The second section would be subsection N, new farm equipment, farm tractor, farm implement dealerships. New farm equipment, farm tractor, and farm implement dealerships may include sales, service, and repair of used farm equipment, farm tractor, and farm implement, which is a secondary and auxiliary component of the dealership's primary operation of new farm equipment, farm tractor, and farm implement sales. Then we would go to section 3, subsection C, used farm equipment, farm tractor, and farm implement sales, service, and repair. Much like that last rezoning you just heard, in my view, that these uses are a retail use or a repair use that goes along with selling something. Like the rezoning before, they're going to produce containers from a raw material. So me and Janet, we are recommending to the Board of Commissioners to move these uses out of industrial into the commercial district because they're not producing a product. You know, they're not taking a raw material and making a tractor. The tractor's already been produced. They just want to sell it, and obviously they want to sell it just like any other of the other dealerships on the 4-lane. So, any questions? Will we open the public hearing?
So both,
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Stacy, for
So
keeping me. So now we're going to do the
We'll
public
go ahead
hearing.
and open the public hearing. Are there any comments from the public in favor of the proposed changes? Are there any comments from the public in favor of the proposed changes? Okay, are there any comments from the public in opposition of the proposed changes? Anyone in opposition to the proposed changes? Okay. All right. So we're gonna close public hearing, and you guys have any questions?
Mr. Skipper, you talked a lot about farm equipment, tractors and so forth. So if there was a all-terrain vehicle dealer or UTV such as Cycle Works that we have, they would fit into this category already, I guess.
Absolutely. They would be an auxiliary component.
Okay, thank you.
So we're moving F, the truck repair and all that, to commercial as well.
To commercial also.
Okay, I mean, I'm with you there. I never did see the sense in it being industrial anyway, so.
Right. They're just selling it.
Yeah.
New and used, so.
No questions? All right, do I have a motion to approve the amendment to the Code of Ordinance?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, so again, before we open public hearing for comments, I'm going to ask Ben Skipper once again to review the proposed changes for the next.
Okay, what we have is a resolution and an ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of Carroll County to amend Section 5 of the zoning regulations to add a new section, 519, regarding permitted residential occupancies, to amend Section 4 of the zoning regulation to insert the definition of recreational vehicle, to amend Section 4 of the zoning regulation to insert the definition of residential occupancy, to provide an effective date, and for other purposes. So let me read it to you so we can kind of understand what we're talking about. Looking at amending Section 1, Section 1, Section 5, general provisions of the zoning regulations shall be amended to add new Section 519, permitted residential occupancy. Residential occupancy is a permitted only in a conventional home, which is what you understand is a stick-built home, a manufactured home, which is a double wide, or an industrialized dwelling is where you would probably see on Home and Garden TV that the walls are pre-assembled, and they come with a truck and they take a crane and they set the walls, the roof, and all of that. Those are the three permitted three permitted dwelling types in the state of Georgia under our building code. Each as defined in Section 4 of the Carroll County zoning regulations and as approved by DCA. So the Department of Community Affairs is what I'm referring to when I'm saying the state of Georgia. So the state of Georgia Department of Community Affairs sets these out as the three ways that are deemed a single-family residence. Carroll County adopts them. But what we're looking for is just a little bit of clarity to help code enforcement officers and the general public, and that's what I'm going to get to here. With A, residential occupancy is prohibited in any structure, vehicle, or other shelter which is not a conventional home, manufactured home, or industrialized dwelling. Such prohibited residential occupancies included, but are not limited to, recreational vehicles, shipping containers, accessory buildings or accessory structures, tiny homes, which do not fall under the definition of a conventional home, manufactured home, or an industrialized dwelling, and tents and other camping arrangements. B, provisions of this section 519 shall be in addition to all applicable requirements for the district in which the subject use or occupancy is located and all other applicable requirements of the Carroll County zoning ordinance and code of ordinances. This section 519 shall not be interpreted to expand the permitted or conditional use of any of the districts. Section 2, Section 4.0 definitions of the zoning reg shall be amended and insert the following. Recreational vehicle shall mean a wheeled vehicle with or without motivated power, primarily designed as a temporary living quarters for recreational, camping, or travel use. The term includes camping trailers, travel trailers, fifth wheels, motorhomes, park models, truck campers, and other similar vehicles. Section 3. Definitions of the zoning regulations shall be amended to insert the following definition. Residential occupancy shall mean fixed habitation, an occupant uses a structure, vehicle, or other shelter as a residential occupancy when for 30 or more consecutive days, the occupant performs household activities of daily living there, such as living, sleeping, eating, cooking, bathing, dressing, personal business, or other activities generally reserved for or associated with one's dwelling, and whenever the occupancy is absent, the occupant has the intention of returning, or a structured vehicle or other configurations need not be an occupant's permanent house to constitute residential occupancy. Make sure I get it all read. That was a mouthful to say this, because there's a lot of confusion. So the county and the codes office, we have a temporary RV permit. You sell your home, you bought a piece of land, you're building a new home, you're going to live in your camper. That's okay. We sell you a permit. It's a temporary permit. We give you temporary power. And let me back up. The Planning Commission had recommended denial of this application because we had for 3 days or more, 3 or more consecutive days. And Janet, you step in and correct me if I'm wrong, but the Planning Commission felt that was too short. There could be some confusion. Somebody has a travel trailer, they come in from out of town. So scenarios like that, you know, they just came for a week. Well, our code said 3 days. So the Planning Commission had recommended denial. In working with District Commissioner Chance, we felt like 30 or more days would be more reasonable. And again, this is, we're tracking 3 things here. So if you're building a home or you're living in it, we have a temporary permit for you to do that. If you show up to visit relatives, that's okay too. But where we run afoul is when someone wants to live in it permanently. And as we just seen with the hurricane, foundations are often thought of keeping the building from falling down. But as we just seen on the news, they're to keep your building from blowing away. So keep you attached to the ground. Recreational vehicles are deemed by the state of Georgia as a recreational vehicle and not a permanent dwelling. Well, just like I went through with conventional, manufactured, industrialized, to the general public, that is a very confusing, you know, we have stacks and stacks of code books of trying to explain to them why you can't. So what we was looking for is in the zoning code, it helps the officer, it helps educate the public, and it makes it a little bit clearer what we are doing. You know, we have a temporary permit for when you are building a house or you're in between houses. We have that. And we also are not naive to think that people are going to come and visit family. That's not what we're after. But it's unfortunately, we do have campers where people are living in them. They don't have power hooked up. They don't have septic hooked up. And a lot of this waste is going on the ground untreated. And a lot of those adjoining property owners are calling codes, wanting codes to provide some type of relief in those, we hope few, but in those rare situations where this is not somebody camping. They're actually there living without power, without water, without septic. And this is really what I'm asking the board is for something in the zoning code, so when an officer goes out there, they have something quick tool to be able to show and to educate the public why we're doing what we're doing, because getting into the weeds of what type of house you have due to the Georgia Building Code or the Department of Community Affairs sometimes gets cumbersome for someone not in the industry or in the trade. And now I think you're going to open the public hearing.
Yes, sir. We're going to open the public hearing. Are there any comments from public in favor of the proposed changes? Anyone from the public in favor of the proposed changes? So is there anyone in opposition of the proposed changes? You just state your name and your address, and you will have 10 minutes to present your opposition.
My name is Sandy Hollingsworth. I live at 2300 Whooping Creek Church Road. and without the information other than just hearing, to clarify, if you're wanting to say that they can now have residential occupancy and recreational vehicles, I am opposed to that. For somebody to come and visit, there's permits. For somebody that needs temporary residency to build their future lovely home, that's all in permits. But to allow RVs to be on properties as permanent residents, I am totally against that and recommend that they do not be included to be acceptable.
Thank you. We're in favor of it. Is there anyone else in favor? Okay. Is there anyone else in opposition? All right, this time we're going to close public hearing. Commissioners, do you have any questions? For
No. No, industrialized housing is actually inspected by the Department of Community Affairs and comes with a sticker and a label of inspection and approved. We do have one in the county, and that one, he went third party and hired an engineer to come in and design those containers and bring those containers up to the Georgia Department of Community Affairs building standards. So yes, it's a container, but it's a container that he came in and bought a building permit, and he brought it up to a code. He brought it to a code. What this is saying is you got a container and you just opened the doors and you walked in and started living. So there is a method where that, like you're referring to, that in the shipping container, he hired a third-party engineer, he designed it, and he brought those containers up to the single-family building code. There's a process to go through, right? It is allowable, but you got to get an engineer to design that to meet the building code. Other examples would be the Home Depot shed. Right, thank you.
Okay. Overview. Family coming in from out of town, they park their RV in the yard. It sits there for 3 weeks. We're okay.
Absolutely.
No permit.
And remember, sitting there, you can sit there forever. We're not tracking sitting there. But you're saying they're staying in 3 weeks, yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Okay. It goes, but if it's beyond 30 days, you got to get permit.
There will be situations, and that's why we have a permit, so we will know, are the proper things there? Is it hooked up to county water? Is it hooked up to an approved septic system? You know, what are we doing with the waste? So there is a temporary RV permit, and there has been situations where military veterans that live throughout the state are receiving treatment and care in Carroll. And in the park system, we have worked with those and allowing them, you know, to be able to move within the park to be able to receive that treatment. So we're well aware that several people live in campers. It's been quite a national movement with the real estate boom. Everyone has sold their camper. They're living in campers. They're moving from park to park to park. And you can live in a camper in an approved park. You know, we have RV parks in the county. They're adjoining counties, the state park, the county park. But when you look at those parks, there's proper electrical hookup, there's proper water, there's proper septic and sewage system. There are bathroom facilities, there are, you know, places for them to wash their clothes. All of those things are within those parks. So.
My neighbor built a house.
That's correct. And that's an allowed use.
I really don't want to restrict it.
And we're not. This ordinance does not restrict that.
But he would have to get a permit or something.
He would get that temporary RV, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but he would get that temporary RV permit when he pulls his building permit. And those are not the people that this ordinance is directed. It's more so with what the citizens spoke to, that someone wants to live there full-time from now on.
And I know that happened because I've had calls, even though it's not in my district. When they looked at it, I had them call your office.
That's correct.
They pulled an RV up behind the house and they were living. So,
That's correct. And when the code officer goes out to meet with them, because a lot about code enforcement is education, is the lion's share of it. It ain't always just write a ticket and drag them to court. It's educating them. But when we get into, well, you can got a conventional, manufactured, industrialized, you can see the look on these people's face is, what are you talking about? So it's, and for the code officer, they're not a building inspector. So the building inspector is trained in all of these disciplines. So it was kind of make it simpler, just where they have this ordinance, they can show them, look, But the other part is if you got a hardship, you got a temporary case, we got a temporary permit, there are temporary situations. For those situations, it ain't always perfect in a perfect world that fits in the box.
Two comments.
Yes.
One, I'm glad you used common sense in applying this ban, because there are, various situations where people may be forced for one reason or another to reside temporarily in something like this. On the other hand, I have gotten several complaints, as you know, down various roads, main highways, as well as small county roads where this exists, and without being hooked up to sewer and everything, I mean, it's a bad situation. So I think this ordinance is a good thing. I wanted to ask one specific thing in line of what Tommy was asking about the shipping containers, though. Seeing that home, and I've toured it out there off of Jones Mill. It's a real nice home, and if, let's just say, one of my children down the road wants to build a home, and it exists of 5 shipping containers and then another 1,000 square feet of living space. With this, and this might be a question for you, but with the explicit prohibition of shipping containers here, would that legally override any allowance somewhere else, so that we couldn't even have any storage facility adjacent to a house that might be a shipping container? I mean, are we prohibiting something, or is it going to be allowed?
And for us in the code world, and then I know that's, everyone doesn't always live in the code world. Living in a shipping container does not meet the International Code Council standard for a single-family residential dwelling.
Yeah.
However, you can use a shipping container along with a professional engineer to design that container to meet the energy code, the electrical code, wind load, foundation. Yeah. So yes, you can use that once you hire an engineer to bring it up to a building code for a single-family residential dwelling. So,
right.
And I don't know, maybe Stacy can work up a magic word here real quick, but that's, to me, as a department head and as a building inspector, to us, that's a very different thing. Living in a shipping container or just living in a utility building that you bought at Home Depot is a very different thing, because those are not built to a single-family residential building code.
Yeah.
And the one that you're using as an example, that gentleman came in, bought a building permit, he hired his engineers, and that is built to code on Jones Mill Road.
Yeah.
It's a safe structure. It's safe. Yeah. And that's really what this is all about, is making sure we got safe places for people to live.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that the explicit prohibition of it here wouldn't disallow a house like that on Jones Mill Road, which is very nice for us.
So basically using the shipping container as raw material to build this home, because it's still got to be brought up to code.
Right. Once it's brought up to code, you're good. But a shipping container by itself does not meet the standard for a single family dwelling. Oh, yes, he did a wonderful job.
And I'm gonna say I've seen all of the above in my job. I've seen them living in the Home Depot
I know,
storage shed where I'm having to pick them up.
yes.
And nobody knew they were before I got there. So.
Sometimes there's things out there that I don't want to know.
That's right.
That codes gets into. But thank you. Thank you for that question, because that was a great question. So,
Any more questions or comments? All right, do I have a motion to approve the amendment to the Code of Ordinance?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Motion passes 6-0.
All right. We'll keep moving right along, and let's see, before we open public hearing for comments, Mr. Skipper, stay right there.
Mr. Skipper, tonight, resolution and ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of Carroll County to amend subsection A of 13.9 of the zoning regulations regarding public hearings of Community Development Appeals Board to provide an effective date and for other purposes. To give this in a bumper sticker version, the state of Georgia rules for advertising an application was no less than 15 days, no more than 45 days. The new law came out through the state shall be that the notification of at least 30 days prior to the hearing by the regular U.S. mail to the owner of the property, which is the subject of the proposed action, to adjoining property owners, and to other affected property owners if applicable. That shall state information that a variance is requested if applicable, contact information, and the date, time, place, and the purpose of the hearing before the Community Development Appeals Board. Posting a notice as provided by law not less than 30 days prior to the date of the hearing in a conspicuous place or places of the property affected, and each such notice or sign shall contain information that a variance is requested if applicable. Contact information and the date, time, place, and purpose of the hearing before the Community Development Appeals Board. That's where we put the sign at the end of the road that generates the phone calls. Publication thereof stating information that a variance is requested if applicable, contact information, and the date, time, place, and purpose of the hearing in the official organ of the county, and at least 30, but not more than 45 days prior to the hearing date before the Community Development Appeals Board. So basically, there was a case at the state that this became an issue, and the legislature added 15 more days to the notice, only for the Board of Appeals.
All right, so we're gonna open public hearing. Do I have anyone in favor of the proposed changes? Anyone in favor of the proposed changes? Anyone in opposition of the proposed changes? Okay, with that being said, do we have any questions?
That is correct, Commissioner Lee. This is really a non-optional. I didn't want to say that, but yes, you're right. This ain't no if you want to. It's a have to.
That's right. Okay. Any more comments, commissioners? All right. So do I have a motion to approve the amendment to the Code of Ordinance?
Make a motion to approve the resolution amendment as passed down and dictated by the state of Georgia.
Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Sticker. We will now move to the business portion. I'll now call on Attorney Stacey Blackman, present item 10.1, go to grant for Macintosh Reserve.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman, Commissioners. We have a proposed resolution for you to consider tonight. It's to apply for a Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Grant to acquire approximately 429 acres to expand McIntosh Reserve Park. And it would authorize matching funds in an amount up to $300,000 and authorize the chairman and staff to take all necessary actions to apply for the grant process. And I did want to mention that Trust for Public Land has been helping with this process, and we do have Emily Camargo, who's here with us, here in case we have any questions for her.
Yes, do we have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I would like to say thanks for all the efforts that Trust for Public Lands has put into this. We are glad to partner with you on this. It will give us a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to expand McIntosh Park, expanded by 429 acres, which is 81% of what's there now, bringing the total acreage there to 956 acres. So it just happens that this property came for sale, and Trust for Public Lands has put in tremendous effort. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do I have a motion for the GOSA grant, to approve the motion for the GOSA grant?
I make a motion to approve the grant as resolution as it appears.
Second. All right. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Motion passes 6-0.
All right. Now we're gonna move to item 10.2. It's a resolution for equipment disposal. I'll ask for the IT director, Mr. Parsons, to explain this resolution.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm here to present the resolution for the consideration to authorize the disposal of the no longer serviceable Yell-Link phone system that we previously had. This is being replaced from a Mitel system that is being serviced by Sync Global. So those phones are no longer needed anymore. There's approximately 160 sets of the phones with expansion modules that we would like to get disposal of.
Any questions?
Mr. Parsons, thank you for taking my phone call earlier today. When we had a conversation, you had described that there could possibly be some items in there that you feel like you might know what the market value,
Correct.
or at least a range of a market value is. So I don't think it needs to be put in the resolution, but my suggestion, I know the chairman will be authorized as the administrator and probably you as the department head, that any items that you feel you have a good idea about the range of value to either place a minimum bid or a reserve on those items.
Correct,
to ensure that you're able to get out of them what you think that they're worth.
Yeah, these phones are in excellent condition. Our departments have, over the years, kept up with them very well, so we would like to get as much as possible.
Ms. Blackman, that's something that we'll need to advertise on the front end, correct, if we did do that, a reserve system. Thank you.
All right, any further questions? All right, do I have a motion for the resolution?
Motion to approve is presented.
Second. All right. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Motion passes 6-0.
All right, if there is no further business, have a motion to adjourn. There you go. Second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Stand adjourned.